Welcome to the Plant Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Now, we should all be cautious of caring for our environment and making small, sustainable changes in our day-to-day lives. So why not start by making some delicious changes? Stoneleigh Wines create their premium wine in New Zealand, and it's made from 100% sustainably sourced grapes and is vegan certified. Stoneleigh's Sauvignon Blanc expresses vibrancy and fresh flavours of the Marlborough region and is a minimal intervention wine and collaborates with nature. We have a unique discount for our listeners so you can get 20% off Stoneleigh's Sauvignon Blanc exclusively on Amazon using the code STONELEIGH20. Welcome to the Plant Based Podcast News.
Your horticultural news roundup for the week.
A special garden celebrating the life of the late Queen will feature at this year's RHS Chelsea Flower Show. A garden of royal reflection and celebration has been created by award-winning garden designer Dave Green. It will include a range of the Queen's most loved plants, such as Olivia Austin Rose and a silver birch. The garden will also commemorate King Charles's coronation with some of his favourite plants.
The Wildlife Trust's garden wins gold medal and Best in Show and Best Construction at the RHS Malvern Spring Festival. RHS judges praised the garden for its atmosphere, flair and impact for the high standard of design and build. So well done to designer Jamie Langlands and team at the Wildlife Trusts.
The Menopause Charity Rose, launched in conjunction with the Menopause Charity, will be on display at the RHS Chelsea Flower Show in May. The rose's foliage is illustrious emerald green and very healthy, contrasting with the light candy pink blooms. Each flower consists of up to 60 petals and has a fruity perfume.
To mark the recent coronation of King Charles III, floral designer Jonathan Mosley created a huge floral crown using thousands of flowers, which is on display at the centre of the floral marquee at RHS Malvern. If you haven't been able to get to the show and see it in person, do look it up online because it's absolutely amazing. Well done, Jonathan.
Visitors to a university garden can treat their nostrils to a heady scent of rotting cabbages or decomposing dead rats, as a rare orchid has bloomed. Bulbophyllum phalaenopsis is emitting a delightful aroma at the Cambridge University Botanic Garden. The plant, which is from Asia, flowers every 3 to 4 years, and it's very rare to see it in flower outside its natural habitat. The total stinker is irresistible to carrion flies, which pollinate it.
There was a great deal of naturalistic planting at RHS Malvern, especially in the show gardens. And it wasn't all about the flowers. There was a great deal of texture and colour with all of the foliage. But some standout flowers were the use of many epimediums. There was a very small and very vibrant echium, which is absolutely stunning. But when it comes to foliage, there was plenty of eucalyptus, there was loads of different trees, just really showing you how beautiful your garden can look like with just pops of colour but plenty of green. A really good lesson in how to plant a garden that's perfect for wildlife, has some colour, is drought tolerant, lots of sun loving plants, and really you can have a garden no matter what your site or wherever you live. And if you want to check out the show gardens from RHS Malvern, just head over to their website, rhsmalvern.co.uk, and check out the gardens.
Hey guys, it's solo episode week, so you've just been treated to the news, and next you're going to have a lovely exclusive interview with Charles Carr at Hillier. I actually visited about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we had a big old plant gossip. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. He's going to talk about some bestsellers, how he breeds and selects plants himself, and some hot shots for the future. Enjoy. Hey Charles.
Hi.
I'm here at Hillier Garden Centres and Nurseries, and you are the head of wholesale nursery side.
Yep.
But I see you as a crazy breeder and plantsman, and so I really want that to be your title instead.
Okay.
But I know I've been here before. We've had you on the podcast once before, and we could chat for hours about plants. We've already had a little session of kind of showing each other pictures on each other's phones as well. It's like, have you seen this? Do you know this? It's kind of, it's really plants people connecting. So today we want to talk about some of your new releases that are coming up that you're going to be showing at Gardeners World Live. Also, maybe talk about a few that you're putting up for some awards over the next year as well. Talk about some of the recent breeding. Also chat about where plants come from and the importance of good naming and marketing for plants as well. So welcome to my little solo podcast here today. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. And
I've
learned a lot looking at the pictures.
Yeah. So tell us, what is your job title actually? Did I get it right?
Yeah, so head of wholesale nurseries, which basically is a long-winded way of saying that I manage all of the container production for Hillier. So I'm growing a lot of the hardy plants, about 1 million a year, which all go through our 22 garden centres.
But you're also heavily involved in the development side of new plants and bringing new plants into the company, right?
Yeah, to me, that's one of the exciting bits. I love plants, and seeing something new is really, really exciting. So people bring us plants, we trial them, we look at them, other breeders give us plants to have a look and see if we want to launch them. And then we've got our own hybridisation programme at Hillier, and then I tinker about with plants at home because I can never get enough of them.
So Hillier, it's a big kind of branching company, is it? Lots of different strands. Just explain to us a little bit about a potted history of Hillier and kind of what it does today, because you've got about 22, 23 garden centres now, haven't you?
22 garden centres. So founded in 1864 in Winchester, so that was where the original nurseries were, and then the first garden centre is. And now we've got 22 garden centres spread across south of England and up as far as Henley and Arden. We've also got a web shop, so all of our plants and all of the stock from the garden centres is available to have it delivered to your door. And then we've got the wholesale nurseries, which I manage, and then also vast amounts of open ground tree production and semi-mature container grown trees.
And a lot of plants that obviously have been selected or bred here by the Hillier family as well, right?
Yeah, and over literally hundreds of years. So so Harold Hillier used to send people out hunting for plants around the world. They'll send him seeds from all over the place. And the Hillier Gardens was originally his private plant collection, where he was trialling and looking at lots of plants. So there's a real heritage of bringing in new plants from all over the globe to enrich people's gardens.
And are some generations of the family still involved in the business?
Yes, very involved. So Robert Hillier is still our chairman. His son George is very involved in the business. John Hillier's children are involved. So yes, there's lots of members of the family. John and Robert's sister Liz, her son, works in the business as well. So yeah, very much a family business still.
And new plants. Why are new plants important to Hillier?
So it's a point of difference. It's something exciting and new. It's something new for gardeners, and it gives us something to shout about. But we're quite careful that a new plant isn't just for the sake of it. It's offering a benefit. So it grows better on the nursery. It's got a longer flowering period. It has a different flower colour. It can't just be another of the same. It's got to be something genuinely different, like the Cercis Eternal Flame that we launched a few years ago that won Plant of the Year at Chelsea.
Yeah, gorgeous plant.
Amazing.
Yeah. But also it's about improving, isn't it, and making plants better for people as well, because I know earlier when I asked you what was your best-selling plant across all the garden centres, you said lavender hidcote. But we both know there's a lot of better lavenders than hidcote. Why would a plant that maybe has got, better alternates still sell so well? Is people recognise the name? Or surely the newer gardeners don't know the name lavender hidcote, do they?
I don't know. I think it's very recognised. And lavender hidcote, people have raised it by seed. They've done it from cuttings. It's not even all the same plant. It's lots and lots of variations. Whereas some of the modern breeding has more uniform growth, longer flowering period, stronger flowers. So, there's great improvements on it. But there is something in the name of lavender hidcote that everybody's heard of.
That's really interesting. But I guess maybe then, because it's a bestseller, you then still give it prime position? Or have you been trying to push the other lavenders forward? Or they might not work, so you then promote hidcote more, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy then, isn't it?
It's not necessarily down to me, so I'm not involved in the retail and how things are demonstrated and displayed there. I grow them on the nursery, and I grow what I'm asked to do. So I spend hour after hour after hour poring over plant numbers with the garden centre buying team, and it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy because we always sell loads of hidcote. We always grow loads of hidcote.
It's interesting, When I used to work on Thompson Morgan on the catalogues, your best-selling vegetables, I saw people never moved to new variety. It was always carrot early Nance, beetroot bold tardy, and of course we used to measure the square inch per page that the product performs. So, of course, that would perform well. So, of course, it would still be big the next year. So, we were probably making our own problem on some levels with that. And even though there were newer varieties that would perform better, but some of it is people recognise the names. It's probably their parents have told them, look out for Hurst green shaft peas in the garden centre. That's a good one. Even if there are ones that are much, much better. So, it's interesting, the name, because we also earlier chatted about the importance of having a good name for a plant. And that is, it's everything, isn't it? Because we talked about Hydrangea Runaway Bride. And this is not only a great plant, but the name sells the story because it's a trailing hydrangea, isn't it?
And it's a really descriptive name for a spectacular plant. And it's so hard. We sit and look at new plants and you go backwards and forwards, and it can take a really long time to name it. And then you think you've cracked one. We've got a new plant we're launching next year, a Mahonia, and I had the name in my head for ages. And then somebody named another plant the same.
Oh, no way.
So I then had to go back to the drawing board.
But can you register it first, or does that?
Well, they've already done it, so
it's already there. Because what about when you because a lot of people try and name plants after people, and it kind of only means something to the person that named it, and those plants don't necessarily perform as well, would you say?
No, very often they don't, and I think a good marketing name does make a difference. It shouldn't make a difference, and a plant should stand on its own merit, but it does make a difference. So we've got the new erismums we've launched this year, which are my own breeding, which I did years ago. I was struggling to come up with a name for those, and I had one of them in the garden, and I said to my daughter, what do you think of this? And she went, I like its vibe. So we've called them the Colour Vibes, and there's Colour Vibe Orange, Colour Vibe Red, and some new colours to come. But that was a child's comment from my daughter. To me, it's kind of named after a person, even though that's not apparent.
Inspired by a person. Because you told me a good story about an ulmus earlier.
Which I only found out recently, Ulmus Jacqueline Hillier, which I was talking to Robert Hillier about, and apparently during his wedding, his father, Sir Harold Hillier, spotted it growing in the gardens, thought it looked wonderful, didn't recognise it, asked the curator of the garden if he knew where it had come from, and he didn't, and it turned out to be a new variety. And it was actually named after Jacqueline Hillier, who Robert was marrying at the time, because it was found or spotted during their wedding, which is such a lovely story.
Maybe a tribute, but maybe also the first thing he thought of in his head as well. But there's some really good name I saw the other day. What was it? A geranium, a new hardy geranium called Bloom Me Away. Have you seen that one? Is it one of yours? No?
No.
What's some of it? The Bowles Mauve. There's a new one called Boldover, is it? Yeah, that's another kind of cute play on words as well, which are kind of fun and they're memorable, but it feels sometimes like a bit of an in-joke, because if you don't know the variety in the first place, in the garden centre, you're not going to be turned on by this clever name, are you?
And there's an anemone that was launched by Rosie Hardy called Frilly Knickers. And it causes so much entertainment. Our team on the nursery actually deliberately didn't put 2 on the trolley to go to dispatch because they were trying to make them call on the radio to ask for a pair of
Frilly Knickers. Oh, no way. That's cool.
They were trying to get them to say we're short of Frilly Knickers.
Well, I haven't told you my story about Frilly Knickers. When I was working at Thompson & Morgan, I used to obviously select and kind of research a lot of the new plants. And we had a few new fuchsias that came through, and there was one that had these real twisted kind of tepals. Okay. And I wanted to call it Frilly Knickers, but our chief exec wouldn't let us. And so it actually ended up being called Twist and Shout instead.
It's a very nice plant, though.
Yeah, it's still a nice name, but it was going to be Frilly Knickers,
Okay.
Yeah, so. But it is so important to have that really good, fun name, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us about a few of the new plants you got coming through, because you mentioned the erysimum. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the erysimums have come through. So, quite a while ago, I looked at one of the standard industry red varieties, and I thought, it's not actually that red. I wonder whether I could hybridise a better variety with a better colour. So I set about doing some fairly active crosses using quite a few different erysimums, including Bowles Mauve, which to me is one of my desert island plants.
Yeah.
I only have a few on my desert island. And I used that as one of the parents. So, I came up with quite a few different seedlings and selected through those. Really looking for big flowers, long flowering period, but very strong, clear colours. And I didn't want pastels. I didn't want them fading too much. So I wanted some really bold strong colours. So there's 2 we've launched this year, which we've had a look at the plants earlier. The orange one, which is about as bright as an orange flower gets. And then the red one, which is a really good, true dark red. And then we've got another colour in the pipeline for next year, and then a couple more for the future as well. So it makes a really nice series.
Yeah. Very strong colours. Yeah. What would be the flowering period then?
So they'll start flowering in about February, and they should flower through all the way through March, April, May, and depending on the weather into June. Once it starts getting very hot, the erysimums tend to finish quite quickly.
Would it work in the cooler season in the autumn as well? Or?
I don't think they'd flower them particularly. But they'd be lovely in a mixed patio container as well in the spring in a display.
Absolutely. And we did say there's not many oranges in the plant, or maybe May onwards. I know you've got tulips that kind of give you orange, but in terms of herbaceous perennials, there's not so many things out there, is there?
No, it's one of the more unusual colours, and they're very striking. It sticks in your mind, things like Berberis darwinii, which are really good, pure orange flower. They do stick in your mind because it's one of the less usual flower colours.
Definitely. So these are something you're kind of working on at home, right? Your back garden is like a breeding ground, or?
Yes, my veg beds are disappearing gradually.
But that's like, if I had more time, because when I first joined Thompson Morgan, I was doing some hybridisation of the verbascums, and I think I did some erysimums once as well, actually. And if I had more time, and I'd like to play around with that. Sorry.
Did you do the purple one?
The purple.
There was a lovely purple verbascum came from Thompson Morgan.
No, I was doing the pollination on the copper rose.
Okay.
That was an F2 hybrid at the time, so we kept doing these hybrids. It was really, it was cool because I was kind of working in different parts of the company just to get different experience. So, so what else is coming up? We've got a new lavender as well to look out
so
for,
we've got a lavender which is going to be called Exceptional. So that's a lavender cross intermedia, so it's an interspecific hybrid. So that will fit very well. The name has been chosen to fit with a couple of other ones. So alongside,
to fit with your catchphrase, apparently.
Well, apparently I call new plants exceptional if I really like them. So I think I might be having my leg pulled with that one as well. So it'll fit with the sensational and phenomenal, but really nice lavender, very hardy, big leaf, very, very silver, and it holds its foliage all winter, which a lot of lavenders can start to look a bit scruffy over winter. Pure white flower on nice long tall stems, so good for cutting, good for pollinators, and even with the cold we've had this winter, it's overwintered quite happily in a pot in my garden, and stayed looking robust and exceptional all winter.
Very exceptional. So would you say, like, because when we were walking around the nursery earlier, we talked about kind of a few grasses, and you said grasses have really had a revival in the last kind of 10, 15 years, and ferns as well, because people are turning to a more naturalistic look. Where do you think this came from? Do you think consumers are buying different plants these days?
Yeah, I wonder whether there's a bit of a back... It's ever-changing, and it's really hard to crystal ball gaze, because with new plants we're working up to 8-10 years in advance. With the production we're very often 2-3 years in advance. But I wonder whether with people going back to sort of drought gardens, so grasses work really well in drought. There's a big trend towards succulents at the moment. But I wonder whether as well people are doing a sort of a back to nature garden with the ferns and the grasses, which are much more naturalistic plantings. But
sorry, go.
There's been some fabulous new, the Evercolour carrots are such bright colours.
Yeah.
And I might not pronounce this right, Chrysanthemum. It's a grass. There's one called Chameleon with some amazing foliage colours. So there's some really exciting new plants coming through and enhancing the range and foliage colours and the sizes.
And I think they've got kind of good impulse purchase kind of energy, haven't they? Because the Ajuga as well, the Feathered Friends series, these are amazing. These have got bright golden leaves, kind of coppery plum-coloured leaves, and then suddenly these azure blue flowers pop up as well. And I think a lot of consumers, would you say, are starting to choose purely by colour when they walk into the garden centre, what catches their eye? Because you said unique colours really sell as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so there's you probably met Dan Himes, but he's got this theory that there's a 10-metre rule, and if you're going to launch a new plant, you have to be able to look from 10 metres and see why it's different.
Because he pioneered fluorescent colours in I remember his Terra Nova catalogues, I don't know, 20 years ago when I was younger. Yeah.
And very much, if you look at those Ajugas, they jump out at you.
Yes.
You walk in, if you saw those on a display bench next to each other, they're kind of sparkly baubles.
Yeah, and it's fun, and a lot of people are planting in that way. And we talked about heucheras as well. With their bright colours.
And a huge array of colours. But the other thing is, both the Ajuga and the heucheras are really good garden plants. They grow in the sun, they grow in shade, they grow in most soils, they grow them in the ground, you can grow them in a pot, you can put them in a mixed planter. They're so versatile as well. And whatever garden you've got, there's going to be a colour or a size or a shape that will work for what you want to do with that.
But I found last summer with my heucheras in the garden, they were actually surprisingly good for pollinators as well. There was often little bees buzzing around these tiny little flowers, because obviously in the summer they flower, even though they're quite inconspicuous blooms. They sit there, and I don't know which varieties I had, but they kind of sat about a foot in the air as well and had this lovely frothy display as well. But I guess if you really want flowering from a heuchera, you might turn towards a heucherella or a tiarella. Tiarella's good for blooming, isn't it?
Yeah, so some of the tiarellas, we grow quite a few of them, like Spring Symphony, which is absolutely spectacular. There's the heucherellas, which are a cross between a tiarella and a heuchera. And some of the modern breeding on heucheras, they're looking more and more to the flower as an important feature of them. So something like Paris has about as bright red flowers as you could want from a plant. And if you deadhead them, they flower for ages.
Another plant like that is hostas. People often grow hostas just for the foliage. Yeah. But if you choose a good flowering variety, they are beautiful, aren't they? And fragrant as well.
Yeah, fragrant. And again, from the most tiny little varieties up to some in substance and Big Daddy, which are huge.
Yeah, that's nice. I could get addicted to hostas.
I think a lot of people probably are.
So any other kind of highlights coming up as well in terms of new plants?
So those are two that have been developed by Hillier. So we've got a new cord line that we're launching this year that will be in the garden centres from May, called Magical Star. So very nice variegated form with the green and white, but the central core of it is red, and that extends reddy pink, extending up into the midrib of the leaves. So a really, really nice colour combination, but also soft enough that you could put it in a mixed planter and associate it with quite a few other plants to get a really good display. So that's going to be quite interesting. We've got a new dicentra that we're launching. So again, that should come through in May. So very soft, low growing one with soft silvery blue foliage and a white flower. So that's called Amore Titanium.
Nice.
And really repeat flowering as well. So not what you think of as the traditional blooming hearts.
Yeah, they never last long at all, do they? Right. But they're not Dicentra anymore, are they? What are they now? Lampo Capnos? Is that right? Yeah. But we don't always have to use the right names. We still know what we're talking about. It's okay. And in terms of then shows, because you've obviously had Bewley a couple of weeks ago, and you've got Gardeners World Live coming up in June. Chelsea, I'm sure you'll be at Chelsea doing a few different things. What's coming up for you guys over the next few months?
So we've got the Gardeners World Spring Show at Bewley, which is the end of this month. So we've had a walk through all of the plants. So because it's been such a cold spring, we've been really panicking over trying to bring plants through early. So we've got all the wildflower turfs in the glass house, trying to keep them warm and bring the flowers on. We've got glass house we've been keeping warm to bring roses on. We've got a light box where we extend the day length to bring things on, and then a great big cold store to slow things down and hold them back so everything's at its peak.
So what happens if you bring them on and you have to put them back in the cold? Well, they survive that. It's like hot, cold, hot, cold.
And some years some years you have everything in the greenhouse, some years everything's in the cold store, and some years you'll put them in the cold store, and then we'll bring them out for a couple of days and then put them back in just to inch them forward.
I guess that's like real weather, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. So we've got that. Then we've got the and I'm there doing some talks during the day. We're up at the main Gardeners World up at the NEC, so presenting the new plants. We've grown quite a few plants for various of the gardens up there, and again I'll be doing some presentations up there. Chelsea, we're hoping to introduce some of the new plants to the Plant of the Year award up there, which is very prestigious, as you know, and a great opportunity to get up there, see the most exciting new plants, see the most lovely things in gardens and trends, and a good social get together for horticulturalists too. Definitely.
And you had a winner a couple of years back, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, so we won with the Cercis Eternal Flame, which is just, the colours on it are beautiful.
It's a plant I could easily get addicted to as well.
Yeah.
I think I actually have 3 at home. So. But with the Cercis, like, it really, because we were talking earlier about the Chelsea plant, I think, to be honest, in the history of the Plant of the Year, it's always been very well chosen because it needs to really represent an advance in breeding, or like a real change for a plant as well. And last year with the Semponiums, this was unique hybrid. Obviously, Cercis very different. Right back to Kilimanjaro, Viburnum, and Digitalis Illumination as well. Yeah. So it's usually ticking the box, but it has to be a real breakthrough, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think because it's voted on by all of the RHS plant committees and floral committees, you've got a room full of probably some of the best plantsmen in the UK who are really used to looking at plants and assessing them and judging them. So, I think you've probably got quite a broad spectrum of people voting. Yeah.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
And also good luck for Gardeners World Live. You do a bit on stage. You like that? You like presenting?
I like talking about plants, generally.
I think I could get you on QVC. There's an idea. Charles, thank you for joining me today on the Plant Based Podcast. We had a lovely chat about new plants, your new introductions, and also what Hillier's got coming up for the rest of 2023. Thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure. Nice to see you again.
Thank you all for listening to this week's episode of the Plant Based Podcast. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Stoneleigh Wines. Their premium wines in New Zealand are made from 100% sustainably sourced grapes and is vegan certified also. Our favourite, Stoneleigh Sauvignon Blanc, displays fresh and vibrant aromas of passion fruit and citrus with crisp notes. We have our exclusive discount code for 20% off Stoneleigh Sauvignon Blanc exclusively on Amazon using the code STONELEIGH20.
The music for the Plant Based Podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.